Hello there, Ryan here, or M&R Productions, and in today's video, we're going to be comparing all three LEGO Star Wars Republic fighter tanks using the M&R comparison system to gauge what has better minifigs, playability, design / displayability, value, and of course, my opinion. You can comment down below which fighter tank you think is best, and hit the like button if you guys enjoyed these comparison videos. Anyway, starting out with the 2008 Republic fighter tank, we got that classic Clone Wars box art. It really pops on there, very bright looking, 592 pieces. This one originally retailed for $50, although adjusted for inflation, you're looking at about $65. However, if you want to buy one new and sealed box on eBay today, more like $250. Not so cheap, but it doesn't have any exclusive minifigs, so it's just expensive because fighter tank. Retailing for half that of the 2008 model at $25. However, adjusted for inflation, that's about $30 in today's money. And if you want one on eBay, you can expect to pay around $110. That one's not too cheap either. And for 2022, brand new, so no inflation and no eBay price, this one's just $40 straight up. We have the 262-piece Republic fighter tank, set number 75342. You can see the box arts on these two looking a bit darker than the bright one in 2008. It's just something weird that I noticed with these particular sets. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the minifigs and see which one is better. Each fighter tank has had a very unique figure selection. Starting out in 2008, we had a regular Phase 1 Clone Trooper and a regular Phase 1 Clone Trooper with Clone Commander armor. And in 2017, we got a Clone Gunner with Aayla Secura and then 2 Battle Droids. And then, of course, in 2022, 2 Battle Droids, 2 187th clones, a 187th Commander, and literally the best Mace Windu minifigure ever made. So it begs the question, which minifigure selection is the best? And I think it's pretty obvious that at the $40 price tag for 2022, this is by far the best minifig selection. Those purple clones are amazing. Mace Windu, of course, amazing. 2 extra battle droids to have fight the clones is very nice. And then you get to the other sets, and this presents a bigger question to me. Which one is better? This one has more figures. It has a named Jedi. Does that make it automatically better than only having 2 figures? And my argument for 2017 having a worse figure selection than 2008 is that it is a clone set and it has less clones than droids. It would be somewhat understandable if it had like a stap or something for the droids to be flying around on. However, it doesn't. I understand it's 2 good guys and 2 bad guys, but I still fundamentally disagree that in a Clone Trooper set, there is more battle droids than clone troopers, and that has been fixed, obviously, in 2022, which is part of the reason that it's so great, but in 2017 wasn't quite that way. I might have my nostalgia goggles on, and I don't care. 2008 minifig selection is better than 2017. So we're starting out hot with 3 points to 2022, 2 points to 2008, and 1 point to the 2017 model. Let's talk about playability. As each set is fundamentally a playset, there are plenty of packed-in play features. Starting in 2008, we have the cannons on the side, which can move up and down. The same can be said for 2017 and, of course, 2022. So it's a pretty standard feature across the line. But there are no additional features to that cannon in 2008. There is a stud shooter in 2017 and a spring-loaded shooter in 2022. There is, however, a flick-fire missile system that you can access by pushing this up and open. So you have 3 flick-fire missiles. It'll be the same on the other side. And then there's actually a stash for weapons here as well. The other thing you can do with the older model is actually move these up and down a little bit. I don't know how you would count that as a play function, but I'm sure for kids, that little added mobility is something. That is not something you'll find on the 2 newer models. There's nothing on the sides of them that moves like that at all, so that is something that the older model has a big advantage over the newer models with. Now, each set does have a hatch on the back. Starting in 2008, you can drop it down, and it essentially acts like a ramp all the way to the interior there. For 2017, it's a bit of a smaller hatch because it actually is just a storage box, doesn't actually go anywhere, but it's got some extra studs for your stud shooters, so if you value that, it's there. And then for 2017, we've got a really nice hatch again, which can open and act as a ramp. You can see it's studded up, so a bit nicer aesthetically as 2008, but I would say as a play function for literal children, they both serve the same purpose, even though this is a better design, but that's for another category. Now let's talk interior play space, because that's obviously a big thing with each of these two. Starting with the 2008 model, we actually have a kind of hidden compartment at the front. You can see a hinge piece, so it becomes a little bit obvious that it's supposed to open, but you can open this up, and there's actually some extra, I don't know what's called, fuel cells that I guess you would resupply on the side of the model. You can't actually remove those without taking apart a large chunk of the model, but it's something that's there and is nice for extra storage. And then you have your hatch and your turret up here. The turret can rotate quite a bit and move up and down. It does fall apart a little bit more easily than I would like, so that's something to keep in mind. But if we open this hatch, you'll see we actually have a clone trooper inside, and you might wonder, well, you know, there's a control panel up here. How does he use that? Well, This is actually holding the chair down, so you can push the chair down, lock it into place essentially, and then if you want to have him pop right up, you just pull back on this and he pops right up. That is the coolest play feature on a Republic fighter tank, bar none. That is amazing. So really like that. And again, if you want to lock it back down into place, all you have to do is pull this back, push this down, and push it back into place. Pretty simple. Then you can close it back up with him in there. Now, if you want to access the other clone trooper that's inside, you can do so by pulling the entire top section off. It's a bit of a cramped interior, but for good reason, because they worked in a very nice play function with that to be able to move the seat up and down and have the trooper take cover within the tank if he wants, or be out on the front lines trying to shoot at the clankers. Anyway, moving on to 2017. Not going to be too much interior space here. However, you can close the hatch with the clone trooper inside, which is really nice. And so if you see, there's just not a ton of space in there, but it's really nicely finished off. You've got a control panel, everything you could really want. And you might have noticed the handle there, because you can actually have the trooper hold on to the handle. I'm going to save myself the trouble of trying to do it with one hand, but I think you get the point that you can have the trooper up on the handle and looking over the battlefield again, which is pretty cool to have, but you can't fit two figures in it, which is more of a design problem. And then for 2022, we actually have a bit more interior function than 2017, obviously. We've got the trooper at the top. He cannot fit with the hatch closed, so that is something that you're losing with the newer set, unfortunately, but he does have a control panel too, so that's what you would expect. And then there is a large interior space that really only fits one figure, because the only way to fit a figure in the other space of the set is to like mash them or jam them in there. They don't just fit easily like the two troopers here. But it is nice to have the clone trooper up there, no control panel or anything, which I think is a bit of a ding against the 2022 model. The final and perhaps most important feature shared across these three models is the wheels. So what you'll see is on the newer models, you have smaller and more friction on the wheels. And so that is a problem, because as you try to roll these, they won't roll as easy. I mean, look how quickly that stopped. In my experience, the wheels on the 2008 model have the least friction and roll very nicely with their set. Now, that's probably helped in part by the fact that this set is just heavier, but it just rolls a bit smoother than what these other models can do. They just stop more abruptly than this one, which feels like it glides, really. That, to me, is the big difference with these sets. I mean, you can see them come to pretty abrupt stops, especially with the newer models, where I find the older one is just smoother. The advantage that size has given the 2008 model is undeniable. It allows them to pack in way more play features than they were able to do in 2017 and now in 2022. And for that reason, I think it has the best slate of play functions, followed by 2022 in second place and 2017 with the worst play functions. Ranking the design and displayability for these models is going to be pretty easy for me, especially when in 2022, this is what you're looking at. Just way too tall and skinny for me versus the proper proportions of the older two models, which just look so much better for display. And one of the other things that this newer model has that the other two models don't have design-wise is a big old gap on top of the baby bump. I mean, this is a pretty significant bump. The other ones definitely have it represented, but this one is also kind of, to me, at least it feels like, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like a mix of two different Republic fighter tank models, and it just didn't come out very well. These parts also jut out way too far. They're supposed to stop maybe halfway, which they do much better on the older models. They don't come all the way to the front here. And so you'll also notice this big gap. And that gap is something that is not going away. There is no way you can set this down, move it around, that there is not going to be a gap. I promise, I've tried. Now, one place 2022 does shine is the undeniably better level of sticker detail. Now, some people don't like stickers. I'm kind of a fan of the detail they can add to models, and the 2022 model has quite a few that add a lot of detail. So I'm a bit of a fan of that for the newer model, and to me, that's a bright side of it, is just how much detail they were able to pack on using stickers. If we flip them to the back, you'll see that we have a bit of an uglier back here, and that is obviously what they went with so that they could actually have the studs up on the ramp. But from like a design display perspective for the backside, the two older models also look better. Not that you're going to be seeing the backside all too often, but I think they look a bit cleaner on the older ones. And one final part about the exterior design, we have the antennas and we have the hatch. So the antennas on each model are attached in different ways. In 2008, they can pop off pretty easily. In 2017, they do not pop off easily. So that's a big positive. However, in 2022, again, they kind of pop off easily. So you can see the differences there. I do, however, acknowledge differences in the hatch design as well. So it's easier to open the hatch in 2008. It is not as easy to open the hatch in 2017, although it's simple enough. And then in 2022, just a little bit more difficult still. However, from a design perspective, from the look of it, it is fantastic looking. It just melds right into the design. I love the way it looks versus these two, which aren't as pretty looking. So that one hatch-wise is just, oh, that is a nice hatch. Now, the 2008 model can fit 2 minifigs inside, and you'll say, well, Ryan, the 2022 model can fit 2 minifigs inside. However, it's the placement of the minifigs, while the functionality ends up essentially being the same. Where the minifigs are placed inside is pretty inaccurate with the newer model. There's only one that fits in this one, which is obviously inaccurate because you can fit 2 in the fighter tank. And then with the oldest model, they actually fit kind of one over the other, kind of like you see in this cross section. It just works and looks proper with the older model. So for some reason with this set in particular, it's usually a pretty cherry-picked stat. A lot of people bring up minifig scale to say 2017 is better than 2008. I wholeheartedly disagree. You can't even fit the proper number of characters in their proper orientations in 2017, so I don't know how that's proper minifig scale. If anything, this one's pretty close to minifig scale, even though, like I said, I don't care about minifig scale. I think the whole argument's dumb. There are so many sets in LEGO Star Wars that don't even come close. I mean, the Slave one is minifig scale, but like Jabba's Palace isn't minifig scale. It's still a great set, one of the best all time. MTT, not minifig scale. The smaller AT-AT, not minifig scale. The Sandcrawler, not minifig scale. I mean, like, where do we draw the line? Well, it seems to be completely arbitrary wherever people want to bring it in to help it make their case for why an inferior Republic fighter tank is better. Anyway, I think the large size of the 2008 set really helps it for the design category. It really has a much more accurate look than they were able to achieve, I believe, on the 2 newer models, as well as the way you can fit the figures inside is just much more accurate design-wise. I mean, that 2017 model being so tiny just doesn't do it any favors. Judging value can be difficult. It's pretty obvious that if you're buying this set nowadays for $250 versus the newest set for $40, well, the newest set, even though it might not look better, is definitely a better value for your money. However, I like to look at it as what LEGO has given you for your money throughout the years. I just think that's a better way to compare it. So inflation adjusted again, 60, 30, and 40 US dollars, which set provides the best value is kind of going to come down to what type of buyer you are. If you're in it for the figs, of course, the 2022 model is far and away the best value for your money for minifigures. Getting the best Mace Windu minifigure ever, along with 3 of his Clone Troopers and 2 Battle Droids, just beats out the other 2 sets combined, in my opinion, minifigure-wise. It's just no contest. However, if you're in it for the build, 2008 to me is no contest. Even 2017 might be worth the $10 less for the build because I just think it's a better looking build than 2022 still. I think it's just difficult to pick because it really just depends on what you're in it for, either the figures, the build, or if you're in it for a combination, it gets even messier. So solely based on the prices LEGO has charged for these, I'm gonna call it a 3-way tie on value. And finally, in my opinion, the 2008 model is just the best. While it doesn't quite have the superior figure selection of 2022, the fighter tank design for 2022 is just so bad that I can't even entertain the idea that it's better. It's just not. 2017 had a pretty nice looking fighter tank design, one that I didn't initially love, but I have come around on. The figure designs are very good. However, the figure selection is still kind of lukewarm, missing maybe an extra clone trooper or 2 for your money. So definitely some things that could have changed on that model that could have helped it. But overall, I think because this fighter tank is so bad, but the figures are so good, and this fighter tank is okay and these figures are okay, I'm going to call these a tie for second place, and this one obviously getting the full 3 points for first place. That brings us our final score of 14 points for the 2008 model, 9 points for the 2017 model, and 11 points for the 2022 model. Yeah, this one somehow beat out 2017, even though it's obviously a worse fighter tank. The figures and play functions, I think, really helped this one. The extra size, like, yeah, it looks a lot worse, but it definitely has better play functions and figures, so that's where I think this one made up a lot of ground on the 2017 model. But of course, 2008 winning with flying colors. So that is my comparison of the 3 Republic fighter tanks LEGO has released. Let me know your opinions on them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like, and you can check out more comparison videos on the end screen now. Thanks for watching.